Okay, team. So, welcome to the webinar on mastering CCSP, the exam strategies and practice questions. So, in this webinar, team, first of all, before we start the webinar and the allied things, I'll just give you an introduction about my profile. My name is Krish. I'll be a speaker for this webinar, and many of the people already know me. For those people who are new to my profile, I'm an enterprise cloud security architect holding more than 18 plus years in IT and specifically on cloud computing from 2010 onwards. And I support businesses to design their cloud security architecture, cloud solutions, and those kind of stuff. For more information, you can visit my LinkedIn profile. Okay, so let's get started, team. Now, the CCSP is one of the most commonly, one of the most demanding certifications now we have when talking about the cloud security, right? Because like in my previous webinars, you have seen my previous webinars, I'm sure that in those I have discussed about the examination pattern, I have discussed about the tips and all these things. So this will be a continuation of what I have discussed in the previous webinars and all. Okay, so again, the CCSP is by a body called as IC Square, that is basically the International Information System Security Certification Consortium. So you know that IC Square is a non-profit organization who is specializing in training and certifications for various cybersecurity and cloud security professionals, and it's actually the world's largest IT security organization. So the CCSP is one of the top demanding certifications from IC Square. Like we have a CISSP, we have SSCP and all. The CCSP is a one of a kind of a cloud security certification which is given by the IC Square. So before we start before we give an overview about the examination pattern, team, the examination for CCSP got revised last on August 2022, and but recently, very recently, within this month itself, there is one more small change happened. So previously, team, when talking about the CCSP examination, previously the examination was after this change happened, the exam was actually 4 hours. But now what they have done is that, team, starting from August 2024, the examination is now totally 3 hours. Okay, this examination is now totally 3 hours, and they have again bring it back to 125 questions. So the reason I am saying this here, because after this particular new revision happened on 2022, this examination was basically 4 hours and 150 questions. But again, recently in this August, that is this month, they have just updated it, and now the examination is again back to 3 hours and 125 questions. Okay, this is the total exam duration and the number of questions you can get in the exam. And when you basically go for this particular exam questions, like there is a two things we have to keep in mind. One is this examination is completely where you have a complete multiple choice questions. First of all, you have a complete multiple choice questions, and the second thing is basically, if you when taking this 125 questions, out of that you have a basically around 100 questions is basically where you get the actual score. This is basically where the actual score comes in, and 25 questions is basically where it is only for research purposes. There is no act scoring for it, but you will never be able to understand what is the real exam question or what is the research question. It will be a combination of both the actual exam question plus, so it's a mixed up thing, so you will not be able to identify that. And this is not a cat based format like CISSP. And on this examination you have to answer all the 125 questions. If you take the example of CISSP, we have better options, but if you go for CCSP, you have to write all the 125 questions in 3 years, and there is no option to close early until unless you want to miss the exam. The second thing is that, okay, I got a question, is there any changes to nothing? So basically, when regarding talking about the examination topics and all, the topics as of now, what I see is that there is no changes they have made to the topics, even though the questions I feel more interesting. But generally speaking, there is no changes happen to the domain weightage and the topics. The only thing which was modified is the duration of the examination and the number of questions we have to attend. Now, so in you have to write all the 125 questions, multiple choice questions, and there is no option for going back as well. Normally, what we do is that when you go for a normal exam, okay, we have, this is the exam screen you're having, and you have an option to go back to the previous choice. But this going back is not there in CCSP. There is no option for going back, or there is no option for marking for review. You have to basically answer the question and go to the next. You will not be able to go to the previous questions. That's a point we have to always keep in mind. You have to answer all the 125 questions in 3 hours. And the passing score is basically 700 out of 1000. And when talking about the passing score, same, when you write the examination, you will not be able to see your passing score. So even though the passing score is basically 700, you will not be able to see your passing score. So they will tell you either you have passed the exam or you have failed the exam. If you pass, they will simply tell you, they will you have passed, congratulations, you have passed the exam. If you fail, they will tell you this is the domains where you were weaker. Okay, and you can write this examination like before. Also, you can write this examination only via a Pearson VUE testing center. There is no option you can write from home or anywhere else. You have to go for a IC square authorized Pearson VUE testing center if you want to write this examination. Okay, I got another question here. So can we use still the uh, actually, I'll tell you. So I will tell you what we have to use on the definite. Don't worry. Okay. Almost every questions will be scenario based, but again, people have a misconception that see, again, I'm not supposed to talk about the real exam questions and all, because it's and we always sign when you write the examination. But what I'm trying to say is that when you basically go for the examination, understand that this exam is testing your actual real-time skills on governance and everything in the cloud platform. And it is not something where you don't expect you will get a massive question. It's not like the question size, it's about the concept they want you to basically or they want to assure from you, or they want to get a clarity which you are aware of. That's okay, that's it. So team, and one more thing, team, when you're writing this examination, I would give you some inputs. Definitely, before I go to the topics part and questions and all, I'll give you some inputs regarding the examination part. So I know that when you say 3 hours, it's actually what? It's actually 180 minutes, right? So we have a 180 minutes for the examination. One thing which we have to keep in mind is that I have seen many people when they write this exam in continuous 180 minutes, there are two challenges I have seen people always face. The first common challenge we are having is that Krish, I have run out of time. This is the first thing. So you may run out of time. Okay. If you don't plan or if you don't prepare for the exam well, you may run out of time. This is the first challenge you may face. The second challenge is that your mindset. This is the two major challenges which I have seen people face when we go to the CCSP examination. First of all, how do you run out of time? Like, let's say if you write the examination, I will tell you why you run out of time. Reason number one, you are trying to rush. You're trying to rush in questions, and in certain questions you slow down a lot. Okay, in certain questions you try to rush a lot, and in certain questions you try to slow down a lot. And basically what happens, you don't watch the timer as the questions are a bit challenging, so always you will focus on the questions and you will miss the focus on the timer. Okay, that is one challenge we are facing. So how do I overcome this challenge? Okay, the first thing you have to keep in mind is that when you're writing this examination, before you go for the exam, make sure you practice a very good number of questions. Minimum 1000 plus questions you have to practice. Minimum, I'm saying. Okay, practice as much as questions as possible before you go to the examination. Now, when I'm discussing this, many people ask me, Krish, you are saying to practice 1000 plus questions. So will I get the real exam questions somewhere? No, you will not get the real exam questions anywhere. But when you practice the questions, like I will tell you from where you can get the practice questions. But those practice questions will give you an option to set your mindset. It will basically set your mindset. Plus, you can learn the time management. Okay, I'll tell you which applications you can use and all these things, but that will help you to manage your time efficiently. So if you don't practice maximum questions, or if you don't watch your time on which is spending on each question, that can basically make you in trouble, which you may run out of time. So that can be a challenge. The second challenge we are having is that the mindset. Now, regarding the mindset part, I will even though I have discussed in multiple videos, I'm just trying to tell you what is a mindset is all about. Now, again, we are saying think like a manager and all these things, but generally speaking, now, if you are a person who is working on AWS, or if you are see, only one person I can see. If you are a person who is working on AWS, or if you are a person who is working on Azure, or any cloud you're working with, you will try to set your mindset as per that cloud platform. The problem is that now I have seen many people argue with me also when we did this. Krish, no, it's the answer is wrong. I have basically seen that in my real-time scenario, in my company, I am doing it different way. In my company, my cloud platform is basically showing different way. AWS have option for this, Azure have option for this. The biggest challenge we are having is that we think in the perspective of a cloud platform. So in this examination, you have to think in the perspective of a business. That means that in this particular cloud examination, you have to think completely like a manager. You have to think in the or even though we have a technical questions there, you have to think in the perspective of a management or business, I will say. To make it simple, like you get a question, and on the question you always think from, or most of the questions you always think from your business side, the concerns regarding your business. Instead of, don't think about like what we can say, don't think like a scenario where, okay, what if I use AWS? No, don't think about AWS or Azure here. This is a vendor neutral examination. Okay. So if you refer to my, if you refer to my previous videos, I have definitely or I have explained how to think like a particular CCSP professional, what is the process you have to follow. So all these things I have discussed, but very importantly to understand team, the mindset is the most important thing. For setting the mindset and to avoid running out of time, practice ample amount of questions. Practice ample amount of questions. I would prefer minimum 1,000 questions you practice. Okay. Now, people always have a doubt. So, Krish, what book to refer? I can see some people tell me that please go to the CCSP official study guide. Please go to the CBK. Please go to the CCSP for dummies. Please go to the CCSP all-in-one. See, learning the book or reviewing the, when talking about the book you have to refer for CCSP, I would say you can go for any of the book. It's completely fine. I but choose either one. You don't have to basically walk through all the books and burn your mind on that. That bookish knowledge is good for sure, but more than that, they are trying to test your mindset, your thought process, and the skills allied with that. So even though there is a many books, what I personally feel, this is just my personal opinion, what I personally feel as a sensible one or more sensible one, I will say, for the examination, this is basically CCSP, CBK, the common body of knowledge, fourth edition. This is what basically I would prefer. But again, you can basically go for any textbook. It can be the official study guide, it can be CCSP for dummies, it can be the CCSP all-in-one. But personally for me, I after reading all these books, I like this particular edition because it covers many topics which is very much more relevant and more specific to the examination. So this is the book I prefer, but you can go for any book. Again, it's completely up to you to decide whether if you want to go for which one. The second thing is that regarding the practice exams, okay, regarding the practice exams. So for the practice exams, there are multiple sources available. If you Google it, you can find multiple sources, but understand that there is no real exam questions available on the market. Let me tell you something. I have seen many people tell me, ping me on Telegram and tell me, Krish, I have bought some dumps for CCSP. Even while I was talking this just a few minutes back, I got a message from a Telegram on some random people who is not my student actually, from some random people that uh, we have purchased a set of questions from a particular person, and they are saying it's a real exam questions. So team, trust me, you will not get the real exam question anywhere. So whatever practice questions we are having is to understand the concepts and set your mindset. Okay. And that's definitely mandatory, that's definitely needed. Okay. So what is the materials you can refer for the practice? The first one is a team for practice exams. You can go to the CCSP official practice test, the CCSP official practice test, third edition. This is basically a very good thing to start. CCSP official practice test, third edition. You have to complete all the questions on that CCSP official practice test, third edition. The second thing is that there is something called as a CCSP Learn Z app. This is the official application which you can find on Android or iOS, which is called a CCSP Learn Z app. So they basically come with a subscription, but it's a very small, very small cost only. It's there, but it's good. Why it's good? Because many people tell me, Krish, I can see there is a lot of questions which is similar or very similar to this official practice test on the LearnZ app. The reason why I'm telling you to practice this application is because this will give you a real exam feeling. This will give you a option where you can basically plan your time properly. Like they will give you a practice exams where you can set the timer for the exam, so it will be more convenient for you. These are the two things I refer. I would prefer you to refer, and you can go for many other platforms. You can find multiple practice question videos which I have made before, and we have a lot of videos on InfosecTrain channel. You can verify that for your practice. Okay, these are something which I refer as a primary materials. So before I go to the next point, what is the and okay, will all the questions be scenario based? So Mohan, when you talk about all the questions, almost like what I feel means, I'm not saying specifically, but again, average around most of the questions will be scenario based only. What I feel, because that scenarios won't be specific to AWS or Azure. That is a generic ones, but setting from a particular mindset, as I told you before, right? That's it. Definitely for CCSP, it's mandatory that you need to have a prior experience, because like I have seen people say, Krish, no, it's not necessary. But trust me, team, if you basically want to go to the CCSP examination, it is mandatory that you need to have a proper experience. So if you see the official document here, you can see that for writing the or for getting certified on CCSP, you need to have a minimum of 5 years experience in IT. Okay, you must have a minimum 5 years full-time experience in IT, and out of that 5 years experience, 3 years must be in information security or mean cyber security, and 1 year must be in a cloud. Okay, this is basically what they are telling you. If you have a CCSK certified, you can basically skip 1 more year. See, I'll come to that growth for sure. So now that's it. And okay, now, Krish, how do they verify if I have this experience or not? What if I tell them I have experience and tomorrow if I don't? So, team, once you write the exam and pass, okay, once you write the exam and pass, there is a process called as an endorsement. Okay, we have a process called as an endorsement. So endorsement is basically something where there is a person who is already certified on IC square, either CISSP or CCSP, has to endorse you, has to confirm that you are meeting all these experience requirements. Okay, if you are already CISSP certified, this endorsement is not required for you, because if you are CISSP certified, this is basically, you don't have to worry about this. Okay, if not pass CISSP, then how does it impact? So Gurudat, it's not like that. When talking about passing CISSP, definitely if you have learned CISSP and passed the exam, that can help when you're learning CCSP. That's it for sure. But it doesn't mean that when you're going for CCSP, you have to go for CISP. It's not like that. Okay, you can directly go for CCSP, because it's, again, both of them have the same tough challenging level. Both of them are basically very much specific to the market. So obviously you can go for any of them, no problem. But if you already have a CISP, there's a lot of topics which can overlap, which can give you more confidence in learning. Okay, that's it. Any queries on this, team? Anyone? Hope all good to all of you. Is there an associate option? Yes. If you don't have a proper experience there, just in case if you don't have a proper experience, so IC square, still you can basically still go for the CCSP examination and write the examination. Once you pass the exam, and if you don't have the proper experience there, as per IC square, you can become an associate of IC square. When you write the CCSP exam and pass, they will give you an option for becoming an associate of IC square. That means that you will they will give you total 6 years time. On within the 6 years, if you get this experience on proper track, then you can get the CCSP there. Okay, that's it. Is it clear to all of you, team? Perfect. Okay, now that's definitely a very important point to keep in mind. Now, team, regarding the examination part, as we discussed before, this is basically where you have a total of 6 domains: cloud concepts, architecture and design, cloud data security, platform security, application securities, cloud security operations, and legal risk and compliance. In the new exam as well, I have not seen there is any changes on this. They are having the same weightage and the topics are same only. Okay, that's it. Now, when you basically go for a CCSP examination, there are a few more things I would basically prefer you do it. Okay, before I come to the questions, before I give you questions for practice, there are some more things I would prefer. So in the examination team, the I have seen, when I see many feedbacks of on LinkedIn from different people say that, Krish, for the first few minutes, when I see the questions, it feels like fire, it feels like burning, because it's the questions are intended to be challenging. The questions are designed to be a bit tricky and challenging for sure. So always keep in mind that, team, in the examination, even if you see that, okay, first few questions are basically a bit challenging, so don't, lower your, uh, like always be always, maintain your positive mindset and go ahead. So if you can keep your mindset from the first to last, there's a very high chance you will pass the examination. That is the most important thing. Okay, keep your positive mindset there. That's a very important point. And take breaks in between. Like for example, I will tell you an example of what I normally tell my students. So I tell them that you take 1 minute for one question. Okay, when you practice, you take, or you when you go for the exam, you take 1 minute for one question. So how does it work? So first 10 to 15 seconds for reading the choices. Okay, for first 10 to 15 seconds, read the choices, read all the choices. Then the next 10 to 15 seconds, or let's say 10, read the question quickly, read the entire question quickly. Again, do it one more time very slowly. In every question, you will have a distractors and keywords. Try to find the keywords in the question and go to the best answer. Okay, that is what you have to follow. So what I'm trying to tell you is that when you basically go for the examination, out of this 3 hours 180 minutes you are having, so I would prefer you write the first 40 to 50 questions. Okay, first you write the 40 to 50 questions. That means on an average around 50 minutes you're taking, right? Sit idle for 2 3 minutes, or at least 5 to 10 minutes, or 5 minutes you can take. Okay, take a break for 5 minutes. That means don't walk away, just sit there itself, but just keep yourself relaxed. Take a small break for 5 minutes, give your brain a bit, make your brain a bit calm for 5 minutes, then continue again for the next 40 50 questions. If you go in this pattern, you can basically make the exam more easy for you. Okay, that's what I just want to give you an idea. Fine, team. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's go for the questions. I will give you some questions which can basically help you to build your mindset on and basically test your skills. Okay, we have already have multiple question series is already there on YouTube. You can check the InfosecTrain channel. And on this video, I'm going to give you some few questions where you can basically answer that. So what I want you to do is that I want you to quickly go through this question. Okay, one more thing before you answer this. Thank you for asking the question. I will give you a tip. When questions are huge, even though it's very less number of questions, I feel it can be huge, but I would tell you, whatever the entire story they are giving, focus on what they're asking you. Like I'm telling you, I have a scenario where I'm going to cloud, I have these requirements. I will give you an entire story, and at the end I will ask you, what is the best practice I can do for doing a particular activity. So focus on what they're asking you. That can make your answering easy, because what the problem is that we overthink. We try to read the entire scenario, we try to think the entire scenario. No, don't think the entire scenario in the question. Try to focus on what they're asking you. There is a question they're asking you, and just focus on that question they're asking you. That is the easiest way. Okay, so because if you try to go through the entire question and try to worry about the entire scenario, that can be a challenge. That will take more time, and again, burn your mind a lot. So don't do that. Read the entire question and focus on the specific part which is asking you something. Again, watch for the words like except, best, least, first. Like that, there's a lot of words. When, while doing, just before. Like this, there is a lot of words are there. You must be a bit careful about. Again, try to follow my rule. It will work for you as of now. Okay. Read the choices first. Read the choices first. Then read the entire question. Focus on what they're asking you. And one more thing, please. There is no penalty for finishing last, or there is no prize for finishing first. So you can take your time. That's completely fine. In the examination I'm talking about, don't try to rush in the exam. It can lead to many wrong answers. So don't rush in the examination. Okay. Your organization is planning to migrate its on-premises infrastructure to a public cloud provider. The infrastructure includes several mission-critical applications that require high availability and disaster recovery capabilities. The cloud migration strategy involves leveraging IaaS for VMs, databases and storage. So they are using IaaS services. As a cloud security architect, you are tasked with ensuring that the infrastructure is in the cloud is secure, resilient, and meet the organization's high availability requirements. Which following strategies should you prioritize to ensure high availability and disaster recovery for your cloud infrastructure? So team, in this question, can you tell me the key points, team? What are the key points which they're asking you? What is the key point? High availability and disaster recovery. You can see that they are concerned about the high availability and disaster recovery. Over the entire question, they are always talking about their availability, high availability and disaster recovery. Now, if I go through the choices, okay, even if you feel the answer is A, definitely it can be A or not, whatever. But even if you feel the answer is A, I prefer, as I said, go through all the choices, because maybe in the exam, all the choices may be right. If you see maybe all the 4 choices, all those can be right. Okay. But you have to choose the best out of the answers. Until unless question says choose 2 or choose 3, there will be only one answer. Okay, in this, let me see. Deploy all critical availability workloads in single availability zone. So obviously that is not high availability. Set up automated snapshots on VMs and stored in same region. No, definitely not. Rely on SLA for availability. Definitely it can help us, but again, not the thing. Again, it's not default SLA. The answer is implement a multi-region to ensure deployment to ensure that redundancy across geographically separate locations. So what happens, team? You can have a high availability there by default, right? Okay, that's it. Answer is A. Quite simple, right? Okay, answers, team. A healthcare organization is developing a new application to analyze the patient genomic data for research purposes. The data is highly sensitive and requires stringent protection. Which security technology would be most effective in protecting the patient genomic data while it isn't being processed, ensuring that only authorized personnel can access and manipulate the data? Okay, this question, I just intentionally added here for a reason. Okay, when talking about data, okay, I'm taking a few minutes on this question. When talking about data, data is of 3 types. Okay, we have a data at rest. We have a data at rest, which is stored in a storage device. We have a data in transit, or we can call as data in motion, which is basically the data which is getting transported from one location to another. And we have a data in use. Okay, data in use. Now, for data at rest and for data in motion, we have encryption. Like we have different, like we have a AES-256, we have a SSL, TLS, VPN. We have a lot of things are there. When talking about data in use, that is the data which is residing in your RAM and CPU is called as data in use. For the data in use, do we have a effective encryption, complete effective encryption? Even though you say, Krish, there is something called as homomorphic encryption. Yes, very important for CCSP. But again, more than that, that is again, still getting matured, right? Because there is a bit lack of maturity, I feel always. Okay. So I will tell you 2 reasons why we are concerned about this. When you go to the cloud platform, do you know what is the biggest threat in cloud computing, team? When you basically go to the cloud platform, what is the biggest threat in cloud computing? Biggest threat you're facing in cloud computing? Yes, multi-tenancy. Multi-tenancy is the biggest. That means you're sharing your infra with multiple customers. That means you're sharing your storage, you're sharing your network. Also, you are sharing your CPU and memory as well. Is it clear? So you have let's say we have a microprocessor in the provider's infrastructure, and that microprocessor is used by multiple customers, right? That microprocessor is used by multiple customers, right? So that is challenge, right, team? So inside the microprocessor, let's say there is a this is my data, this is your data. Like this, we are processing multiple customers' data on the same RAM and same microprocessor. This data in use. So how do I ensure that there is no one sniffing into my data there? That is why you can go for Question talking about data in use here. You can go for a technology called as confidential computing. Okay, we can go for a technology called as confidential computing. Okay, and based on the confidential computing, we use something called as a TEE, that is called as trusted execution environment. So in the microprocessor, we create a separate space, we create an isolated chamber, or we create a separate logical space in the microprocessor, which is only accessible to the authorized application or person who is running the process. That means this particular isolated chamber or isolated environment is not visible or not accessible for other customers. In the RAM and CPU, we basically create a isolated chamber, or virtually or logically isolated chamber, which is only accessible or only visible to the application of the user which is running that process. It is not visible to, so thereby making sure that we have a complete isolation from the other customers. Okay, that is what we call as a TEE, trusted execution environments. It's available for AWS, Azure, GCP and all. If you go to AWS, we call it as AWS Nitro instances. In GCP also we have this TEE option is there, right? Like that. Is it clear, team? So that is why. So tell me, team, what is the key point in this question? Data in transit, that is while being processed, while it's being processed, data in use, data in use, not motion, data in use, while it's being processed on the RAM and CPU. So team, in the examination, I strongly recommend you to review this confidential computing and trusted execution environment, because this is a very critical topic, which is basically now very much relevant. So you may get this in the exam. Okay, very important for us. Okay, let's go to the next question. Answers, team. Take your time. As I said, read the entire choices, read the question. There is no penalty for finishing last, or there is no prize for finishing first. Take your time. A software development company is building a cloud-based application that handles sensitive customer data. To ensure the application security, the company is implementing a secure software development lifecycle. Which of the following security testing methods would be most effective in identifying vulnerabilities early in the development process? So when I basically go for this particular question, okay, means take your time, review, you answer this first. A software development company is building a cloud-based application that handles sensitive customer data. And to ensure that application security, the company implements SSDLC. Okay, what is SSDLC or secure SDLC? Normally, the goal of the SDLC is to develop the application. That's all. Just get the requirements and bring it to life. That's it. But we are not thinking about security in the normal SDLC much. But in secure SDLC, we basically try to do a shift left process where we try to make sure that security is an integral part of all these things. It's not something which is an add-on, it's an integral part. So in that perspective, which of the following security testing would be most effective in identifying vulnerabilities in the development process? Now, tell me, team, in this question, tell me which sentence is asking you a question. So this is a scenario. This is a scenario. Okay. And this is what they're asking you. This is what they're asking you. This is what you have to answer. Don't answer that for the entire question. This is what they have to answer. Tell me what is the key point in this question. Tell me what the key point in this question. In the development phase, in the development phase or early development or development phase, out of these things, which one happens in the development phase? The SAST, that is static application security testing. That means this is a process where we test our code for vulnerabilities, not the application. This is a process where we test the code for vulnerabilities, and DAS is a process where we're testing the application for vulnerabilities, right? Again, team, for the examination, be very clear with the concept of SAST and DAST and IAST. Different type of testing, unit testing, functional testing, SAST, DAST, IAST, all these things are very important for us to understand. SAST, it's basically SAST. Okay. Okay, let's go for next question. Yes, exactly, Vishal. Yes. RASP is also yes. I asked as well. Answers team. I know I'm moving a bit fast. I'd like to give you a mindset here. Take your time. It's fine. Go through this. Put the answer in the chat box. A financial technology company is developing a RESTful API to allow third-party application access third-party application to access customer account information. To protect sensitive data, the company is implementing various security measures. Which of the following security mechanisms would be most effective in preventing unauthorized access to the API and protecting sensitive data in transit? Now tell me one thing, team. Data in transit, okay, still anything else? Unauthorized access, okay, anything else? REST API, they're using REST API. Okay, they are using REST API. Plus, I'm talking about preventing unauthorized access to the API on transit. Now, team, what is the key point you have to remember when talking about REST API security? What is a key point you have to keep in mind when talking about REST API security? REST API don't have a native security mechanism. REST API by default don't have a native security mechanism. It inherits the security of the underlying channel. Is it clear, team? Don't forget, when you basically go for SOAP, they have an inbuilt security control because it's a kind of a protocol. But if you go for REST does not have a inbuilt security mechanism. REST is something where they use the security of the underlying channel. So in data, when talking about data in transit, which is basically the best for us, team? Answer is HTTPS with TLS encryption. On these options, the answer is HTTPS with TLS encryption. All is different. It's a different thing, right? Then API, they are already saying that there is no permission. Like it's basically open application, right? Your organization is a global online retailer with a complex cloud infrastructure utilizing both IaaS and PaaS services. You are tasked with designing a comprehensive security plan for your cloud environment. Which of the following security controls would be most effective in mitigating the risk of data loss or corruption due to hardware failures in the IaaS environment? C. Implement a robust backup and disaster recovery plan with the offsite data. Because question talking about what? Question is concerned about the hardware failure and data loss. So basically they are talking about the redundancy, right? So basically we'll go for implementing a robust backup and disaster recovery plan with offsite data replication. Answer is C. Tim, shall we go for a few more questions? Or you feel exhausted? No, right? More questions? Ria is a CISO at a large multinational corporation with increasing regulatory scrutiny and possibilities of litigation. She is concerned about ensuring the company is adequately prepared to handle legal holds, which requires the preservation of certain data for potential legal proceedings. To address this, RIA need to ensure that the relevant policies are in place and adhered to the across the organization. Which organizational policy should RIA focus on to ensure that the company is properly prepared for legal holds? So when question talking about legal hold, okay, I'm concerned about like how long I have to keep the data. And basically when talking about the data, I want to make sure that I need to keep my data. So it's talking about preservation of data. I want to keep my data, right? So it's all about the data retention policy. First of all, the answer is B, retention policy. And one more thing is that, team, let's say your retention policy says that a data will expire on this month. Let's suppose, okay, we have a data which is set to expire this month, but there is a legal hold came to this data. Shall we expire the data or shall we keep it for the legal hold? A lot points, Guru, lot more points, duration, what security, lot of points are there. So I'll repeat my question, team. When you basically have a data retention policy which says that this data will be deleted in August 2024 and you have a legal hold came in on top of it, that means the legal hold always will be on top, right? That's it. Maria is the manager, the IT manager at a financial institution responsible for ensuring the continuous operation of the organization's on-premises data center. She is concerned about the impact of an extended power outage on the data center's availability and is reviewing various options to maintain operations during such event. Which of the following solutions would best address Maria's concerns? Now, team, in this question, one point we have to keep in mind is that question talking about impact of an extended power outage. So UPS depends on the battery pack, right? UPS depends on the battery pack, and basically there is a limitation for that. But if you have the generators properly, you can have a fuel tank, and until you have the proper fuel, this will keep on working, right? And always keep in mind when talking about redundancy, many people believe that Krish, UPS is a redundancy for generator. No, for generator, if you want to have a redundancy, have a backup generator. For UPS, it's a different story. Don't think that UPS is a redundancy for generator and vice versa. No, UPS is different, generator is different. For generator, if you need, you can have a backup generator. For UPS, you need to have a backup UPS. Okay, so here the answer is generator, because tell me why the answer is generator. Because even if there is an extended power outage, but still question doesn't say choose two, right? Question, until unless question says choose two, you can choose only one, right? And in the extended power outage duration, I don't have a idea about how long this will be there. See, the power is not there, right? The power outage is there. If the power outage is there, then what is the use of a power grid there? Only if power is there, power grid will work, right? Like that. It can be either B or C, but the answer is C because extended power outage. That's it. Okay, Ethan is tasked with deploying a secure operating system in his company's cloud environment. The OS requires a cryptographic module to verify the integrity of the virtual hardware during boot process, ensuring that the environment hasn't been tampered with. Which of the following tools should Ethan use to fulfill this requirement? What are the key points, team? Key points, please. Verify the integrity of the hardware during the boot process, ensuring that the environment is not tampered with. So team, now first point is that when you basically go for a HSM, it's basically for a multiple key management in centralized. So basically C is not the answer for sure. Then we have something called as a cloud HSM, it's a service name. There is nothing called as a cloud TPM. So we are left with A and B. Obviously, the answer is B, virtual TPM. Question talking about each computer, each instance. So we can have a virtual TPM. And team, one more point we have to keep in mind is that HSM is always a physical hardware. Don't forget, HSM is always a physical hardware. At the same time, TPM can be either physical or virtual. Don't forget, TPM can be either physical or virtual, but HSM can be only physical.